Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I have for you a beautiful autumn floral wreath of gorgeous autumn colors and a fabulous full mixed ribbon bow. This one is a beauty, and I hope you will feel inspired to make one for your home or perhaps to make one as a gift. I hope you love it. Welcome to my channel today, and if you're not currently a subscriber, I hope you will become one and set that notification bell so you will too be notified when I upload a video, which I generally do twice a week. Please as well give this video a thumbs up and leave me your comments. It really helps my channel to grow, and I really appreciate that. Okay, let me show you how I created this beautiful autumn wreath. I used this wreath that I purchased in the clearance aisle at Hobby Lobby. Now, you could use a grapevine wreath or a floral foam ring wreath. You don't have to have this exact wreath. I was just lucky enough to have that foundation for my florals all set there for me, but you can very easily do this with a grapevine wreath as well, or as I mentioned, a floral foam wreath. I have there some pipe cleaners. Going to be making a really beautiful mixed ribbon bow with 4 different ribbons. I have here this beautiful 2.5-inch wired burlap ribbon from Hobby Lobby. I got it at 40% off, as well as the other ribbons that you see there. So we're going to be creating this beautiful mixed ribbon bow. And this is my standard method that I use for creating bows. I'm going to leave a 14-inch tail, and all of my loops in this particular burlap bow, this is going to be the base, are going to be 14 inches as well. So I'm going to have a really nice sized bow on this wreath. Now, I'm not going to use a sign of any kind. I'm just going to be putting a fabulous bow on this wreath and then just adorning it with all kinds of florals, everything from pine cones to sunflowers, all kinds of different types of fillers. This is going to be a beautiful wreath. So I'm going to create 3 loops on each side of my bow, and I'm using my standard method that I always use. I fold over my loops, pinch it in the center, and each time I fold over a loop before I do so, I twist my ribbon, so I always have the right side of the ribbon facing up. Now, if you need to measure out your loops, that's a good reason to have the measuring mat underneath you, or a ruler of some kind. Look what I discovered while I was right in the middle of making this bow. They pieced together that ribbon, which really irritates me when it happens. But as it turned out, I was able to proceed onward, because at the point where the ribbon had the separation was right at the place where I was going to pinch it. And so I was able to salvage that situation, but not good for that brand, whomever it is that supplies Hobby Lobby with their ribbons. That was not cool. But it happens. It happens with ribbons sometimes, where you're going along and all of a sudden it just splits, and they try and piece it together, and they continue putting it on the ribbon spool, and it's very irritating for a crafter. You all may know what I'm talking about. Okay, 3 loops on each side, 6 loops all together, 14-inch tails, 14-inch loops. Layer number 2 is this beautiful buffalo check ribbon. and I absolutely love this ribbon. It's a beautiful rusty color with also with a beige kind of burlap color background. And this is just a gorgeous autumn ribbon. Absolutely one of my absolute favorites. So again, I'm going to use 14-inch loops, 14-inch tails, fold over my loops, twist my ribbon, pinch it in the center. Now I do have bow tutorials where I do this slowly and methodically. If you have seen me make 100 bows already, go ahead and forward over this if you feel you don't need to watch it. But I do feel that I need to show how to make a bow, even if it's only at an accelerated pace, each and every time I put one in my videos. So I'll give you an overview of how to do that. But if you want to do it slowly and see how I do it done very slow and methodically, check out some of my bow tutorials. I have multiple bow tutorials in my playlist. All right, so here we have another bow, 14-inch tails, 3 loops on each side, 6 loops altogether, and the loops are also 14 inches. Now for my next layer, I'm going to use this pretty autumn ribbon. It has some oranges and some little bit of rusty orange, a little bit of green, and it's a very pretty autumn ribbon. This one I'm going to do with my loops at 12 inches, but I'm going to leave my tails at 14 inches. I want all of my tails even until I decide what I'm going to do with them later on when I put it on the wreath. You can always check your loops to make sure they're symmetrical by just holding them up against one another. You'll see me do that like right there. Twist my ribbon. Don't forget to do that before you fold over the loops. Pinch it in the center. This one is going to be 3 loops on each side as well. Now it looks very beautiful to mix your patterns on any type of bow, but especially I think this autumn wreath looks beautiful with mixed patterns. The buffalo check with the autumn, with the texture of the burlap, and then the beautiful rusty orange ribbon on top. So again, 3 loops on each side, but this time they're around 12 inches. I want those loops just a little bit smaller on that layer of the bow. Now, the beautiful thing about this type of bow making is that you can change everything up. The size of your loops, the length of your tails. You can use a 1.5-inch ribbon mixed with a 2.5-inch ribbon, which those 3 layers that I've already done are 2.5-inch ribbons, and these are all wired. And here we have a 1.5-inch ribbon. I always use rubber bands to put around my ribbons to keep my ribbon spools. 14-inch tail. Now we're going to go to use around 12 inches again on the loops. And fold the loops over, pinch it in the center. See how I check my loops to make sure they're symmetrical? This ribbon is exceptionally beautiful. One of my favorites. Goes beautiful with the, there's a rusty orange sunflower at Hobby Lobby. I really just have to make something with it. It's so exquisite. And this ribbon would go beautiful with that. You have to check out Hobby Lobby Florals. Although Dollar Tree does have some nice autumn florals, so check those out as well. They do have a variety of florals, leaves, different types of stems, sunflowers. Okay, So for the last part of this bow, we're going to curl that ribbon under and create one single loop going right down the center. I placed my thumb on there, as you can see, and this is going to finish off that last and the top layer of that bow. I'm going to take a pipe cleaner from around the back, and I'm going to pull it. I think I did actually put another pipe cleaner in there. I'm sorry. Just a half of a pipe cleaner. I didn't end up having enough of the tails on that pipe cleaner to poke it through. Now I have a tail on the top of this bow. I cut that off from the spool, again 14 inches. I'm going to poke that tail on the top through the loop, pull it down, marry it up with the other one, and now I have a 3-loop bow on each side, or 6 loops altogether, with that one single loop going right down the center. And now I am going to place all of my layers together. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut off any of that excess pipe cleaner tails on the back, because I want a nice flush application of one bow upon another. So I'm going to begin with my base bow, which is my beautiful burlap there. And I'm going to separate the tails on each side of my hand, open up my loops to receive the next layer, which is that buffalo check. See how beautiful that looks on top of that burlap. Now I'm going to press that very firmly in the center, aligning my bows so that the centers are on top of one another, nice and even. Here comes the next layer, my beautiful autumn ribbon, separating my tails, pressing very firmly in the center, aligning everything up perfectly. And last but not least, that beautiful rusty orange color. I'm going to place my finger right through that center loop, separate the tails, press it very, very firmly. I'm showing you there. Check to make sure everything is aligned. Now I'm going to take a full-size pipe cleaner, poke it right through that center loop, bring it around the back, all the while keeping a nice tight hold. You want everything firmly pressed together. And then I'm going to twist those pipe cleaners in the back, or the pipe cleaner I should say, singular. I always try and use a pipe cleaner that matches the bow that I'm creating. Now I'm just going to shape my loops just a little bit. I'm going to do most of my shaping, of course, once I have it on the wreath. But this makes a very beautiful bow. And all of the materials that I'm going to use on this wreath, of which there are quite a number of them, it's all going to pick up all the colors in that bow. So I have a lot of materials here, and you'll see me applying these one by one. But what I do to prepare myself to create the wreath is I cut off the stems, and a lot of them have long stems on them, but you're going to want to leave about 2 to 3 inches on the stems so that you can have a stem to apply the glue to insert it into the wreath. Now, whether you use a wreath like this, or you use a grapevine wreath, which is awesome for poking in those florals and just creating a beautiful bed of florals. I'm showing you here all the different positions that you could place your bow. I'm going to place mine at 10 to 11 o'clock, but you could do it at 5 o'clock, at 7 o'clock. You could do it at the top of the wreath. but I'm going to do mine between 10 and 11 o'clock. And because of the size of that bow, I know it's going to take up a good deal of space on my wreath. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that bow, and then I'm going to construct all of my wreath around all the loops of that bow. I'm just arranging my loops a little bit so I can get a good idea what that bow is going to look like sitting on that wreath. Now you could also, as I mentioned, use a floral foam wreath and then just poke all of your florals right into the floral foam wreath. You could pick those up at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's. I think Walmart carries them as well. You could use a styrofoam wreath. Just going to want to cover it completely so that you don't see the styrofoam or the floral foam. I'm going to start with my largest elements here. I'm going to use 4 sunflowers. I used 2 with the long petals, and then as you can see in my hand, I absolutely love those sunflowers with the short petals. And I'm going to place those around the wreath. Now, I like to do a dry run, so to speak, on a lot of my florals. And that way I can determine if I'm pleased with the placement before I actually hot glue them in. Now, I am going to be hot gluing in all of my florals. This is a fall wreath. The same concerns as you would have in the summertime, you don't have those in the fall because it's not, it's even if you live in Florida where I live, the climate is cool enough that you don't have to worry so much. I also use Gorilla Hot Glue, so I find that to be a much better glue than any I've ever tried as far as maintaining a good adherence on a wreath. Now, I'm going to go around with all of my different types of florals. Now, these are going to all be completely up to you, what you use. I decided as well to use several pumpkins. I love these pumpkins. They have kind of a straw, kind of jute feel to them, and they have a little wood tops on them, which I love. And I decided to use 3 of those on my wreath. Now, you could use any color pumpkins that you like, or you don't have to use pumpkins at all. That's completely up to you. Right now I'm inserting, I call them cattails. I'm really not sure what the official name is, but they look kind of like cattails to me. Now, on this wreath, I'm primarily using golden yellows, and you'll see this in my fillers and the beautiful sunflowers, but I do insert some of the rusty oranges as well. Now I'm going to use a smaller sunflower, and again, the florals that you use are completely up to you, but I like chalking my wreaths full of a lot of visual interest, so I use a lot of different types of fillers and florals. Now I'm going to use some of those, I call them cattails. Okay, I don't know what the name of it is. Maybe someone could tell me. It really doesn't matter to me. I just judge everything by how beautiful it is. And that's the way I do it. So I'm going to add a little bit of those in to pick up those rusty oranges on that wreath. Now I do go around after every dry run, so to speak, with each of the elements that I'm placing on there. And then I go around and hot glue them as I go. Now you want to create balance and symmetry on your wreath. So you want to be certain that you're creating as much visual interest as you can while creating a lot of balance, if you will, or things evenly distributed. Let's put it that way. I am going to add a little bit of greenery on there. It happened to come, it happened, what? What did I just say? It happened to come on that particular flower that I'm placing there right now. Does anybody recognize those flowers? Because if you follow my channel, I use a lot of them in white. And I was so happy to see that they also came in a golden yellow for the autumn season. Oh, they're just so beautiful. And I used the greenery that came on those to place around the wreath. Now I'm going to place that particular filler. They have a lot of those little, they look like little, kind of like little bottle brushes. I don't know what, again, I don't know the official name, but you see them in my hand there. Go to Hobby Lobby, go to Dollar Tree, go to Michael's. Check out the different types of florals. There are so many to choose from. And you can just create wreaths 100 different ways, just with all the different florals that are available to decorate with. This year seems especially, just especially plentiful in so many different types. I like to have as many different shades of earthy tones to go along with my golden yellows. I have another filler there in my hand. I'm going to place those around. Those are like little tiny berries, little tiny seeds or berries, however you want to think about it. Now you see how that wreath, as I put the elements on, is becoming more and more interesting looking, more and more beautiful, more and more textured. And there's another filler. You see, I use a lot, as I mentioned. Now you can use as much or as little as you like, but I'm just letting you know, the more you use, the more gorgeous the wreath. That's just the way it is. Look at those. Those are so pretty. And I got those at Hobby Lobby. All of the florals on this wreath are from Hobby Lobby. Everything is 40% off in the autumn florals department. Now, although you don't see me gluing there, I actually am in between the placement of all of my florals. This was a gorgeous floral with brown center of flower, and it's just so beautiful. I got that in the, there's two departments with the florals. There's the higher end florals with the longer stems, and then there's another separate department of the florals at Hobby Lobby. And those particular ones came on a long stem. They were almost like paper. I don't know what they were actually made of, but they were just so beautiful. I had to have them. Now I'm going to use some of this covered wire that I purchased also in the fall department. And I'm just going to create some little coiled pieces to insert into my wreath. I'm just using a thick straw there, and I wrap it around 8 times, and I just create some little coiled wires. I think I did about 5 of those for the piece. Then I'm also going to create tendrils for those 3 pumpkins out of that same covered wire. It's kind of like a paper covered wire. Now I'm going to use a pencil for that because I want to go a little bit smaller for the tendrils for the pumpkin. And this was really easy to do. I just wrapped them around the wood stem of the pumpkins and glued it right on. And that was a beautiful touch for those pumpkins. Now, the beautiful thing about wreath making, if you are new to wreath design, is that doing the dry run, you always have an opportunity to move things around. That's why I suggest that you do that before you start gluing. So if it takes you a bit of time to figure out the art of balance and symmetry and creating, a color balance and a texture balance, you have that opportunity to correct your mistakes before you glue. Now I'm putting my little tendrils on my pumpkins, and this was such a good idea to place those on there. They just looked really, really pretty on those pumpkins. And I had 3 pumpkins on that wreath. Now, one of my favorite parts, believe it or not, is I love going around at the end of the wreath making process and applying leaves. These leaves are my favorite. Above any maple looking leaf, these leaves are my favorite. They're in the department with all of the items to create wreaths at Hobby Lobby. The stems are absolutely beautiful. The leaves are absolutely beautiful in color. And I'm just going around the wreath and filling in any spots that need a little extra something. I also go around and frame the areas where my flowers are with those wreaths. This is a great way to finish out your wreath by applying those leaves accordingly around the wreath where any empty spaces are, or you want to accentuate something or frame something. I just place a little glue at the bottom of the stem and I apply those around the wreath. Those are absolutely essential leaves if you ask me, if you want to do a beautiful autumn wreath. Now, one more thing, I decided to add some pine cones. Now, if you don't live somewhere where you can just pick up pine cones off the ground, if I could speak, good heavens, you could purchase them at Hobby Lobby. They sell them by the bag, 40% off. I believe I used 5 small pine cones, and then I used some baby pine cones. And those as well, the little tiny pine cones, I get those at Hobby Lobby too. Okay, so now I am going to trim my tails. I angle my tails. I don't really care for dovetailing on a bow like this, on a wreath like this. You do you, however you like to finish yours. But I angle all of my tails, and then I go on the other side and I change the direction of my angles, as you can see there. I want my ribbon tails trailing down, cascading down my wreath. Don't forget to take a full-size pipe cleaner and create a loop at the top of the back of your wreath so that you can hang it. And here you have the finished wreath. No sign necessary on this beauty. It stands alone as beautiful, just with the florals themselves. I hope you love this one. And I hope you feel inspired to run to Hobby Lobby to get your florals. Or Dollar Tree. You could go to Dollar Tree. They have some nice ones. Okay. Remember, Leave me your comments. I love receiving them. And give this video a thumbs up. And until next time, you all take care.